Hey everyone!
Hey, hey, and welcome to After Hours here at Linda's Electric Quilters.
We are excited today to show you block 5 of our block 6 series.
Yes, block six block series, block six, one of those things. Yeah, exactly. There you go.
That's right, exactly. I want to throw you off there a little bit.
I see that. I see that. Tonight's episode, we're going to be taking a look at this block right here. I'm going to show you a couple of different ways to keep your stitching continuous in your background quilting, and then show you some cool continuous ways to fill in, if I can hold it, that little section right there.
I can't wait to see it. I know you have some awesome stuff planned.
I try. Alrighty, let's head over to the machine and take a look.
Alrighty.
Okay, so over here at the machine, I've got the top portion of block number 5 that we're working on today. And I want to start by working on the background quilting. And so what this one's going to do is it's going to show you how we can do stitch in the ditch on the outside of the block with a ruler or a template to keep it continuous onto the next section. And you're just going to repeat that around your block, and it's going to give you a stitch in the ditch around the outside. We'll do this top portion here, and then we'll work on these little sections right here. So I'm going to go ahead and start by finding the center of these designs real quick. So I'm just going to take my basic 8 stencil, label side down, and I'm going to match this up, move the machine out of the way, match this up, get all 4 corners matched up in the block. And instead of using pounce powder, just because I just only want to find the center, I'm just going to take my chalk pencil, and there's a center hole, and I'm just going to dive it in there. That's going to give me a little dot that I can work from. And I'm going to do the same thing on this other side. Now I would do this around all of them, but since we're just working on the top portion for this video, I'm just going to do it for this section. So I've got that one and that one. I'm going to take my 4x8 template, and I want to find the center of this half square triangle. So I'll line this up just to get a good center. And I'm going to take my chalk pencil and just mark right down the center. It doesn't have to be anything super dark, just something that you can see. And then I also want to find the diagonals of this center. So kind of going from this direction in, so kind of breaking this half square triangle up into another set. So I'm going to line this up with the bottom of my white triangle here and just lightly chalk pencil that. Same thing here, chalk pencil that. I'm just trying to find exact centers of things just to make it a tad bit easier when we come in to do our design. So what we're going to do is we're going to start over here in this corner, this upper right corner, and I'm going to take a continuous curve and go all the way up to this dot. And I want the top of that curve or arc to be right here at this dot. So I would take this, my machine, and I'm just going to draw it now, but I would hit the top of that dot, come down to this other point. I would do the same thing. Now this is going to be a nice tall arc. So we're coming right up into here and coming down. Again, another one there, down, and then one last one there and down. So I've created kind of like a pumpkin seed cornerstone just with doing continuous curves. And then you would take your template and you're going to do stitch in the ditch from here to here. And from here, once we get to this point, we'll stop, and then I'm going to draw this section out here. So we're going to start right over here. I'm going to pull up my thread. And grab that. There we go. A couple tie-off stitches just to lock it down. All right, and then we are at 12 stitches per inch on this one, and we are off to the races. So here we go. I'm going to start it up, and we're going to start going from upper right, arcing to upper left. Point, point. You can kind of tell yourself point, point may help a little bit, just like that. And then you can take your ruler and do your stitch in the ditch around the outside of your block to that section right there. Okay, so that's your first cornerstone. You would do that around all 4 sides. Now for this one's going to be a little different. We're going to do an arc over. This is a tall arc over, and you're kind of following as you go up. You're going to follow this line that we've drawn diagonally down to this point. So we'll use our chalk pencil, and we're going to draw this way and then kind of down into that point. We're going to come up with some feathers up this vein, using that chalk line as kind of our stop marker to kind of keep this feather in its spot. And we'll do our feather on the other side. It's all about practice getting those drawings in, then you can build that muscle memory. One last one there. Come up that diagonal line over to a point there. And then we're going to make our way backwards actually. So we're going to come back and tap the center of that arc and then do another arc and tap right there. Now if you want to know the exact center, you can go ahead and mark your straight lines here. So I can mark that and see I'm a little off, so I could fix that when I actually quilt it. And then for this one I would mark it right there. Remember we're still right here, so we'd come back, hit that center point, back to that point, and then stitch in the ditch again along the outside of our block until we get to our next section. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to start with our first big arc, and then we'd come into the feathers. So big arc, and then into feathers. Once you get to the top, then you're going to reverse directions. Okay, big arc, and then to your center. And back, to your center, back, come in with your ruler. And you're going to do stitch in the ditch in your block. And remember to wait stitching and then move your ruler. Helps you keep a little bit more consistent. Move my ruler, so that's our little first section right there. And then what I can do is continue into doing my continuous curve. So we will start going this direction. So making to our point here. So big arc to there, arc to there, arc to there, arc to there. And then we're going to work our way with stitch in the ditch around this way and around this way. Because you want to make sure you're doing the stitch in the ditch around the whole block if you're going to do it. You don't want to leave any pieces out because then it's going to be noticeable on the back of the quilt. So we've got this section at the top, then we would come down this way, and then from that point there you would continue doing your little feathers and your pumpkin seed arcs right in here. So since we are, you know, kind of in this section here now, I'm going to move into these greens, but I would do the whole background first before moving into doing any of the green sections. So we're going to look at, once again, keeping it continuous. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the machine out of the way so we can draw. So I'm going to pull up my thread real quick and tie it and cut it. But you could keep working around this whole thing continuously once you finish off that last background. But I'm going to move this just for ease out of the way for us to see. So starting from, we'll start from this point here. So starting from this point here, we're going to create an arc to right here. And I know it's probably a little harder to see on camera, but you are going to create an arc to here. We're going to come over, create an arc down to here, come up and create an arc, and then I'm going to come down and create like a little swirly curlicue. Arc over to here, arc this way, come down, create my little swirly curlicue. And instead of finishing this off, remember, because I want to keep this continuous, I'm going to work my way up this section. So since we're going to come here, I'm going to work, let's go, what's the easiest? Let's go this way. So we're going to arc this way. And then we're going to come in and do a design here. That's probably not going to be the best to see with a pencil. You're going to do your design here. You're going to come back out of that point, and then we're going to continue on. So let's just get stitching so you can kind of get the idea. So we're going to start here, like we said, pull up my thread. I will tie that off. Okay, and then we can begin our stitching process. So I will start this up. I'm gonna arc this way, come back and arc this way, come to this point, and this is where we're gonna drop down, do a little curly cue, arc out of that. Arc this way, you can go ahead and drop down, do your little curly cue, but instead of finishing off that arc, we're gonna go ahead and make our way up at this point. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this one. And since I'm at the point to go in this triangle, I'm gonna go ahead and do the little design that I had planned here. So I'm gonna start with a large teardrop, and then I wanna build off of that. We're just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. We're from here now. So now what we're gonna do, work our way this way, come in, do a curlicue, arc it. We're gonna then work our way, let's go ahead and finish off this arc actually out here, and then we'll make our way back around. So we're gonna arc this way, come down and do a little curlicue, arc again. We need to fill in this section here. So this are those back and forth arcs. Now at this point right here, I'm at the section where I only have one little arc to do, and it's to finish this one off here. So I'm gonna do a line of stitch in the ditch, and on the back of the quilt, it's gonna give it a little bit of separation between the pieces because I have that stitch in the ditch line, and it also gets me to be able to finish off this arc. So I'm gonna grab my ruler, do a line of stitch in the ditch, over to that section, and remember, you don't have to do stitch in the ditch really fast or anything like that. Take it at your own pace. That way it looks the way you want it to look. Now we're at that section where I can just finish off my last arc. Just like that. So you can work your way around things. Now this wasn't the original way that I had planned on doing it. I did plan on finishing it off there, but I kind of got messed up here. But you can see that you can always get your way out of something with a continuous curve. There's always a pathway that you can take. So don't be afraid to experiment with that. Take your chalk pencil and kind of draw around your block and see, okay, I need to head this way. Maybe give yourself some arrows. That way you know exactly what direction you want to take. But it still turned out the exact way I wanted it at the end of the day. So that's your background quilting. You've got your inner block quilting right here in the green triangles and in the white kind of diamond looking print. Now we're gonna move to working here in the center. So let's adjust camera real quick, and then we'll be right back to work on this. Okay, so for the center of your block, that was probably going to be the last thing that you're going to do after you do background and then your green corner pieces, we'll first say. Now we can work on the center. So what I want to do for this one is I want to incorporate some of these little curlicues that we have used in the triangles up here. So I'm going to take my basic 8 and my pounce powder because I want to find some separation in this. So we'll get that lined up. I'm going to grab my pounce powder, give it a nice little hit, and then lightly brush your pounce powder onto your block. Remove your stencil. This is going to give you some overall guidelines to follow and stay within. If you end up putting too much chalk, you can blow it away or brush it away. So I'm just going to lightly brush this away. Doesn't hurt it at all. It's not going to hurt the guidelines. It's not going to hurt the quilt. Just use an index finger and lightly brush that excess out of the way so it's not bouncing everywhere while you're quilting. Just like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to start in the center of this block because this is the last piece that we would be doing. We're going to start in the center, and I'm going to come in with one of those curlicues and then come back to the center. Come in with a curlicue, back to the center, curly, back to the center, and so on and so on. So I'm going to go ahead and tie my thread, okay, and trim that away. And then I can move to my section here in the center. I will pull up my thread right there in the center of my basic 8. Do some tie-off stitches just to lock that down. And then you're using the guidelines of that basic gate to stay within when you're building those curlicues. So always remember those chalk lines are there to help you. So we're just gonna start, let's start this way. So we're gonna start the machine up, come in with a curlicue, and back out once more. In with a curlicue nice and tight, and then you can open it out on the way out. Tight curlicue, and then you can open it out on the way out. I'm gonna stop my machine real quick so I can trim these beginning threads so they're out of the way. Start back up, tight, way out. Tight, open it on the way out. And don't be afraid to cross over one another here. It kind of gives it a little ribbon effect at that point, which is nice and easy. So don't be afraid at all to do a little crossover like that and give yourself kind of that twisty ribbon look. And one last one is here. So we'll come in. Okay, I will tie off. And then we will pull up our bobbin. I can trim that away. And just like that, I've got curlicues here. You would have your spacing for these around each section, and then you would have your background quilting done all in a quick second. So what did you think?
You know, it was really cool. I like how you use the continuous curve to be able to meet the points.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'd hit in the center there and create a whole new design.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know I love some continuous curve. It fills up a design beautifully.
Well, I think it's important to be able, like we talked about, I think it was on block 4, how you did the continuous pattern, a different type of pattern. But to show that it's less time pulling the thread up. You know,
you keep it
doing
continuous.
Your tie-offs,
keep it continuous.
Keep it continuous. And it actually helps you with your flow, too.
It does. Instead of that start and stop, it just kind of just naturally goes into that next movement. And you get a little bit more comfortable with it. You're not as tight with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, no, I loved it. I think you did a great job. And I hope you guys learned a few tips by that, because I know I did.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for joining us this evening. We'll see you tomorrow morning for Good Morning LEQ.
Bye.
Bye.